Hello, this is MTG Sly Guy with another MTG Magic the Gathering deck tech for the Khans of Tarkir Season of Standard. Today I'm going to be bringing you a Naya build, green-white-red build that I've been working on for the last few days. Starting things off with the land base. 3 Windswept Heath, it's the green-white fetch land. Tap it, pay 1 life, switch your library for a plains or forest card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So it is a 3 of. Oops. After that we have Wooded Foothills, which is the red-green fetch land. Tap it, pay 1 life, sacrifice it, switch your library for a mountain or forest card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. I don't know if 6 fetch lands is the right number. I felt like 8 might be a little too much. I don't have a whole lot of life gain in here, and I thought that maybe that 8 fetches would be a little much. We'll see how things go in testing. That number might change, but for now I have 6 fetches. After that I have 3 Temple of Triumph. It is the red-white Scryland, enters the battlefield tapped, but I get to scry the top of my deck. After that, I have 2 Temple of Abandon. It is the red-green Scryland. And then 2 Battlefield Forge. It is the red-white Painland. You can tap it for a colorless, or to tap it specifically for a red or a white, but you take 1 damage. I have those in my deck because Brimaz is in my deck, and it allows me to get Brimaz out turn 3 rather easily. That's also the same reason why I'm running 2 Mana Confluences. Tap it, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. I might cut this down to 1, I don't know. It's just, I've played the deck twice, and in both games I had Mana Confluence in my opening hand, which was actually kind of fortunate because I also had Brimaz in my opening hand, and Mana Confluence allows me to get Brimaz out on turn 3 rather consistently. So for now I have 2 of them. I might cut it down to 1 though, I'm not sure. Finally, I have 3 basic plains, 3 basic mountains, and 3 basic forests, because you need targets for those fetches. Okay, that's all for the land base. Moving on to the main board of creature spells. I have 4 Sylvan Caryatid because it's a 3-color deck and it's just the best mana fix out there right now. Following that up with 2 Heir of the Wilds. It is a 2/2 with Death Touch. It has a ferocious trigger, so if I control a creature with power 4 or greater, when this attacks it gets +1/+1. Slightly relevant. Death Touch is just really good. I can hold this back on defense if I need to, but this will attack through other people's Caryatids. It'll attack through other people's Coursers. Any defensive creatures that they don't want to die, this guy is really good. So he is a 2 of. Following that up with the more 2-drops, I have 4 Fleecemane Lion for 1 green and 1 white. He has a monstrosity cost of 5. You put a 1/1 counter on him, and he becomes hexproof and indestructible. He enters the battlefield as a 3/3. He's just good value. He's a 3/3 for 2. He's not too hard to get out with. The mana base is rather consistent, so he hasn't been too hard for me to get out, although he does compete with other 2-drops sometimes if I want to get my Caryatid out so that I can cast a bigger spell on turn 3. But for now, he's just really good against control. He's really hard to get rid of. He really, other than a Perilous Vault, there's really no way for, once he's monstrous, for a controller to get rid of him. And having the 4/4 indestructible blocker out is just really handy. So for now, he is a 4 of in the deck. Up next, everybody's favorite Goblin Rabblemaster. He's a 4 of in the deck. He is for 2 colorless and 1 red. He is a 2/2. Other goblins attack each turn of Fable, and at the beginning of each combat phase, you put a 1/1 goblin token with haste onto the battlefield. And when he attacks, he gets +1 power for every other goblin that is attacking. So he's just great card, good value. Everybody knows him by now. If you're running red, you pretty much have to run Rabble-Masters. It's kind of the thing to do these days. Also in the 3-drop slot, we have Brimaz, King of Oreskos. He's a 3/4 with Vigilance, and whenever he attacks or blocks, you put a 1/1 Cat Soldier token onto the battlefield, also attacking or blocking with him, and it also has Vigilance. So he is a 3-of. He's just really, again, really good value card. He's good for getting board presence. He's good for getting the tokens out, which come in handy for other elements of the deck that I'll discuss later. Him and Goblin Rabblemaster are just token generators and just good value cards that help me build my board state and get more value out of spells later in the game. Starting with my 4-drops, I have one Ashcloud Phoenix. It's a card that I've been testing out, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's a rather resilient card. The morph cost of 6, though, is a little bit steep, but having that 4 power in the air is just, it's nice. It's a ferocious trigger, and so he's a 1-of in the deck. I might be adding more depending how things go with him, but I see potential, so I'm trying that out as a 1-of. It's a 4/1 flyer for 4, 2 colors, 2 red. When it dies, return to the battlefield face down as a morph, and then you can unmorph it for 6. And when it is unmorphed, it deals 2 damage to each player. So it is a 1-of. After that, we've got Polukranos, World Leader. Pretty much everyone is familiar with this card by now. Great mana sink, good for spot removal when he becomes monstrous, and he's just good value. He's a 5/5 for 4 mana, 2 colorless, 2 green. Monstrosity cost of 1 forest and 2 double X. He gets X 1/1 counters, and he deals X damage divided among creatures. Any number of creatures, target creatures, your opponent's control. So yeah, he's spot removal, and just a big beat stick. So he's a 2-of. Another ferocious trigger for the deck. After that, we have Stormbreath Dragon. I have 3 Stormbreaths in the main board. It's for 3 colorless and 2 red. Has flying, haste, and protection from white. Has a monstrosity for 5 colorless and 2 red. He gets 3 counters and deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in their hand. So just really good card. It's another nice beat stick to have 4 damage on turn 4 or turn 5, depending on if I have a Caryatid out, which I usually do. And protection from white is relevant, especially with Abzan and Jeskai being so popular these days. Blocks Bantus Riders for days, blocks Siege Rhinos for days. It's just a very good card. So he is a 3-of. After that, the last of the creature in the deck. The last creature, I should say, not the last of the creatures, but yeah. Wingmate Roc is a 3/4 flyer for 5, 3 colors and 2 white. If you attack with another creature this turn, though, when you play him, you get another 3/4 flying bird token onto the battlefield, and whenever he attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking creature. So he's good value, a more resiliency for control decks or removal, because a lot of removal is 1-for-1 removal. So having the ability to play 2 creatures with 1 spell is just more value. Value seems to be the theme of this deck. So yes, he's a 2-of. Now moving on to non-creature spells. I have 3 copies of Crater's Claws. It is for X and 1 mountain. It deals X damage to target creature or player, and if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it has a ferocious trigger that allows you to deal that much damage plus 2 more. So this is a good finisher. This is a card that I was able to win one of my 2 games with. My opponent had like 9 life left, but I had my Xenagos out, and I was able to ramp up with my tokens. I had several token creatures out with my Brimaz, and I was able to ramp up and deal lethal damage with my Crater's Claws. So it's sort of a win con, but it's also good for spot removal. You can spend just the 1 red if you have a creature with power 4 or greater. Spend 1 red and deal 2 damage to something. So it is a 3-of in the deck. After that, I have another new card from cons that I have been testing out. Ride Down. It's for 1 mountain and 1 plains. Destroy target blocking creature. Creatures that were blocked by that creature this turn gain trample. I was able to kill Arbor Colossus against mono green deck and a Siege Rhino against an Abzan deck with this card, and it really put the fear of blocking into my opponents. They really were really iffy to block after that, and it was so fun to see the effect that this card really had on them. This is, I can't overstate how good this is with Goblin Rabblemaster too, because I mean, a lot of times swinging with 8/2 Rabblemaster just means, okay, it'll get chump blocked, but well, with this thing in your hand, an 8/2 Rabblemaster means you're guaranteed doing 8 damage to your opponent, and you're going to remove, at very least, you're going to remove one of the creatures. So it is a 2 of in the deck, and it is a very fun card. I've actually got a third one on the sideboard. After that, we have 3 Banishing Light. So yeah, it's just the poor man's hero's downfall. If you're not running black, Banishing Light is 2 colorless and 1 white. And when Banishing Light enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Banishing Light leaves the battlefield. It is susceptible to enchantment removal, but I mean, it's my way of dealing with planeswalkers, and hopefully by the time they have an answer for this, I've already taken over the game. So yeah, Banishing Light is a 3 of. And finally, we have Xenagos the Reveler. For 2 colorless, 1 red, and 1 green, he enters the battlefield with 3 loyalty counters. His +1 is add X mana in any combination of mountains or forests to your mana pool, where X is the number of creatures you control, so it interacts very well not only with his own ability to generate 2/2 satyrs, which is his 0 ability, but it also interacts very well with my other token generators, my Rabble-Masters, my Brimazes, and even to a lesser extent my Wingmate Rocs. So that's just really nice, really nice to be able to ramp up with taking advantage of all the small token creatures that I will have on the field. And his -6 is exile the top 7 cards of your library. You may put any number of creatures and/or land cards from among them onto the battlefield. Not quite as relevant, but I mean, if you can crack it, if you can crack his ultimate, I mean, by all means, your deck is full of threats, so go for it. I did it in one game. It was a 3-player game, so it was a little bit of a longer game, so I was able to crack his ultimate. And so, I mean, hey, why not? If you got it, flaunt it, right? So there's 3 Xenagos in the deck, and that is all for the main board. We'll quickly go through the sideboard. Starting off with 2 Magma Sprays. For 1 mountain, deals 2 damage to target creature. If that creature would die, it is exiled. Cheap spot removal. It's for the aggro matchup. Kills Rabble-Masters that opponents might have. Kills Seekers of the Way. You can take care of a Monastery Swiftspear if you need to. And also, if you attack with one of your weaker tokens and an opponent blocks with a bigger creature, you can finish off their bigger creature with this after blocks. So yeah, it is a 2 of in the deck. Also for the aggro matchup, Anger of the Gods. Anger of the Gods deals 3 damage to each creature. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it. So yeah, for the aggro matchups, any of the X1s and X2s that are all around the aggro game these days. Also for the aggro matchup, we have 2 Nyx-Fleece Rams. For 1 colorless and 1 white. It's a 0/5, and you gain 1 life at the beginning of each of your upkeeps. And so yeah, just good value. 0/5 for 2 is sweet, and the ability to gain life incrementally can't be understated. So it is a 2 of in the sideboard. Also a 2 of in the sideboard is Hornet Nest. So for 2 colorless and 1 green, it's a 0/2 defender. And whenever it's dealt damage, you may put that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and death touch onto the field. Good for the aggro matchup, good for even for the certain mid-range, like the mono-green matchups. They might be tacking in with 1 or 2 huge meanies. That you can put a stop to that pretty quick with one of these. And another interaction that I have been looking into is the interaction between Hornet's Nest and Crater's Claws. In a pinch, I can Crater Claw my Hornet's Nest for a whole bunch and just get a big wall of 1/1 Death Touch flyers out. And that again will put a pretty quick stop to any enemy creature advancement. So that is a 2 of. Next up, we have Hushwing Gryff. Because in my current, my local meta, Abzan, everybody is running Abzan, and Siege Rhino is just, he's a thing. So this shuts off Siege Rhinos. Also, to a lesser extent, will shut off enemy Wingmate Rocs, although it would affect my own. But yeah, Hushwing Gryff is mainly in here for the Siege Rhino Abzan decks. 4th Banishing Light, just more removal. 4th Stormbreath Dragon comes in against any of the white matchups. Again, Abzan is so prevalent at my local game shop, so I have 4th Stormbreath in the sideboard. And Ajani, he comes in against other mid-range decks simply because he allows me to dig for other threats that I have. And he also allows me to put counters on my threats to make my threats just a little bit bigger than my opponent's threats. And he also, if I put counters on creatures, it'll allow me to trigger ferocity a lot easier. Also, 3rd Ride Down because it's just a really fun card. A Deflecting Palm, this is a card that I want to try out. I have yet to play it, but it just seems like in the right situation, this card could just totally swing a game in my favor. So, yeah, it's a 1-of in the sideboard, and I'm really anxious to see what I can do with this because it just looks like it'll just be a super fun card to play. And then finally, to erase, because Ascendancy decks are a thing. There's the new Heroic Jeskai Ascendancy deck that's been floating around, and also takes care of Coursers, Doomake Giants, opponents, Banishing Lights, things of that nature. Just a cheap removal, so yeah, it is a 2-of in the deck. So that pretty much does it for my Naya Rabble-Roc Revelers deck. I hope you liked it, and as always, feel free to comment, like, share, submit, whatever you want to do. If you feel like leaving some pointers, hints, tips, things you might change, things you might add, things you might have more or less of, as always, feel free. And thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.